and welcome to Dotnet with Sikhen, and our today's topic is exception handling. So before going with the exception handling, let's try to understand what exactly the exception is. So exception is a runtime error which stops further execution of the system. So basically when you run the application and if the exception occurs, then after that where the place exception occurred, right, the system stops working. So let's take an example here, like I have created one program, and here you can see it is in void main, and I have taken two variable. One is the num equal to 100 and integer div equal to 0, right? And here I am trying to divide this num with this div. So here, because we cannot divide any number with 0, so it gives you the exception. So here it throws an exception of type divided by 0 exceptions. So after this statement, float result equal to num divided by div will not execute, right, because of this line or the exceptions. So let's quickly jump into the Visual Studio and see how it works. Let's put a breakpoint and then we'll see like how it works. So if I run this application, then here it hits the breakpoint and you can see the num is 100 and then the div is 0. So when I press F10 again, then now you can see the exception occurred, right, unhandled. So this is basically unhandled. So exception occurred and the exception is divided by 0 exceptions. Attempted to divide it by 0, right? So we are trying to actually divide this number with 0, and then if you press F10, system broke actually. So this is the unhandled exception, and after that no execution, you can say. So how we can handle this one, right? So we can handle this through exception handling. Let's go to the exception handling. Now how can we handle the exception, right? So exception handling is used to handle the runtime error so that system should not stop executing further, right? So there are three things that we should know in the exception handling. One is the try block, and another is the catch block, and we have the finally block, right? So there are three blocks basically through which we can handle the exceptions. So in try block, basically the statement which may have runtime error, right? You don't know at runtime which type of error will come up. So the statement that you think runtime error could be there, you just put those statement inside this try block. And then if, let's say, in runtime the exception occurs, then this catch block will be executed. So here basically you handle the exceptions and you can show the exception messages as per your requirement. And there is one more block, that is the finally. This block is basically runs every time. So whether the exception occurred or not, it doesn't matter. Finally block will execute always. So here in the same example we can see like we have put the statements which we think like we can get an error at runtime. We are putting it in the try block, right? And then we have the catch block here, and we know like we have the exception divided by 0 exception. So and then you can show the message here, right? And yeah, so, okay, so this is the end of the program. So let's quickly jump to the Visual Studio and see how we can handle that exception. Here we know like in this line of code we may have the error, right? So we can put those statement in the try block. So if you write try and then you can see the snippet here, and here it is written like tap twice to insert the try snippet, right? So if you press the tab twice, then you can see it got inserted, and then ex, right? And you just write this statement here, float, okay, and yeah, some other statement whatever you have. And here you can see we have one exception class here. So basically if you know which type of exception occurs, then you can write that exception directly. Otherwise you can write this exception which is the base class of every exceptions in the C Sharp. So here you can print the message console.writeLine, like an exception occurred, and then ex.message. So basically this is the message which type of error or something else will show. So if you run it again, then you can see the exception, like this message you will see, and then after that also you will see these statements. So let's run it and see the result. Now here you can see we have message like an exception occurred, this one, and the message is attempted to divide it by 0, and after that also both the lines executed, right? So you have handled the exceptions here. So using try catch block you can handle the exceptions. Types of exceptions in C Sharp. So there are basically two types. One is the system defined and another is the custom or user defined. So in system defined we have so many system defined exceptions, like divide by 0 exceptions, argument exceptions, argument null exceptions, argument out of range exceptions, format exceptions, file not found exceptions, or maybe file load exceptions. Lot more exceptions are there. And in case of custom or user defined exceptions, that where we as a user can define the exceptions. We will discuss more the custom exceptions in our upcoming videos, but let's look at one few of the system defined exceptions in the action. Okay, so let's try to I want to show you one more exception here, like format exceptions. So now how it works. Format exception, right? So let's say I'm taking one string here, let's say name is equal to something Pradeep, and then I want to convert it into, let's say, integer, right? So what I will do then, int, let's say num equal to, I am trying to write like convert dot to int 32. Okay, so this is the one of the conversion method, and you can pass it name. Now you can see, because you are let's say take val. Okay, now at compile time it doesn't know, right? Compiler does not know like the value of name is what, and then whether it will be going to convert or not, right? So they don't know basically why it is so. Let's say if I put here something 100 in string, then it will be converted easily, right? But when you type here, let's say some string variable, for example Pradeep, then it will not convert this Pradeep into integer, right? So here basically there is a format exception. So let's run it and see the result. So I'm putting one breakpoint here and I'm trying to run. Okay, now if you go here and then if you press F10, then here you can see there is a format exception. The input string Pradeep was not in a correct format. This is the string and you are trying to convert this into the val. But if let's say if I put it here 100 or 1000 something, then that value may be or that value will be converted into integer. So let's run it and see the result, right? So here you can see F10, and then if I press, now you can see the value is 1000. Although this one is the string, but it is in a format, right? That's why you are able to convert it into the integer value. So this is the exceptions, and we have so many exceptions, inbuilt exceptions. If you write like file not found exceptions, so it works in the file handling. When we will discuss, then I will show you how we can use that one. And then also we have so many exceptions. If the word, like here you can see, this is the execution engine exception, field access exception, right? All these are different exceptions. So if you just search exception, then you can see we can have a lot of exception. For example, here abandon mutex exception, access violation exception, right? And one thing that is common is, let's say I am taking this one, if you hover on this, then you can see this is in the system namespace, right? And if you press F12 here, then interestingly you can go to the file or DLL, you can say. I will discuss the DLL or assembly in our upcoming videos. And here this access violation exception inheriting from system exception, and if you press F12 again, then you can see the system exception is inheriting from exceptions. So all the exception classes in C# is ultimately inheriting from exception base class. So that is the main thing. I hope you understood this concept, what exactly the exception is and how to handle it in C#. In our upcoming videos, I will be discussing more about the custom exceptions, where we will be creating our own class, and then we'll discuss like how can we achieve those exceptions, or how can we handle those exceptions in our program, right? If you enjoy this video, then please do like and share it with your friends. And also, if you have not subscribed it, then please subscribe to my channel .NET with Sikhen. It will motivate me to create more interesting videos. So that's it for today, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.